Many of us love World of Tanks, but what are tanks actually like outside of the game?
We'll track down ex-tankies and the people behind these machines to find out what tanks are really like, put what a tank's accuracy to the test, then give you tips and tricks to overcome your adversities on the field of battle.
In this episode, we will be looking at one of the most iconic British tanks of the Second World War. We will explore how it performs inside and outside of the game, and talk to one of the men behind its restoration. It is, of course, the infantry tank Mark IV, better known as the Churchill.
What a noise! Ah, lovely sound. When you thought kneeling down at its tracks.
It certainly was an experience having that much noise and power within 3 feet of my head.
Did you feel like you wanted to touch it?
I was so tempted to, but as I'd already been told to move back once and hadn't, I didn't think I could quite get away with having a go at touching it.
I know, I thought we were going to get in trouble. We kept getting closer and closer. I almost knelt down underneath it to get the microphone closer to get that nice sound.
But, can you blame us? It's a beautiful piece of British engineering, that is.
Absolutely beautiful piece of engineering. Now, one thing I've got to say, and we said it in the last video, is that we're sailing into battle with this baby.
Yeah,
Look at it.
You do almost expect, as you come into contact with the enemy, just open up with a broadside.
But instead you've got a 6-pounder sniper needle gun.
Yep, a perfectly fine example of British armament from the period. Yeah, it's not the most high damage cannon, but it'll certainly punch through just about any armour it comes up against. So place your shots well and you'll get on well with it.
Definitely, as you'll see in the video, the Churchill can take a hell of a punishment in the game. It's one of these tanks that's just reliable, it can take punishment, and while it's taking punishment, it has a huge damage output via constant damage. Now, with many guns with the high alpha damage, if you ricochet, you're screwed. If you miss, you're screwed. With this, if you miss a shot, doesn't matter, you get another shot in like half a second.
Yeah, by the time you've realised you've missed, or the enemies realise you've missed, you've already got another shell in the spout and you're sending it their way.
Yeah, definitely. Oh.
And also, one thing to note on this, the amount of zero damage hits you can take as well. Certainly with this particular British tank, the size of it, the amount of void space that's in it. So you'll take a hit and you think, oh, that's going to knock, say, 20% of your health off. You look down and you've lost maybe half that, if anything at all.
Damn straight. It's one of the good things to note for everyone talking about the zero damage criticals. The Churchill in real life had a lot of space. It was designed to have a lot of space in it. If you look at the tank right now, it's got a lot of space. It actually is very comfortable in that sense. It's spatial. So if a shell goes right through, there's a chance it doesn't damage enough to take the tank down.
There's also reported instances where a shell has gone in one side of the Churchill, out the other, missed absolutely everything important, including crew and electrics, and just left 2 neat holes in it.
Fun.
Certainly gave the crew a shock, but
yeah,
they were all still very much alive afterwards.
What did Victor say? What's the most important thing about driving a tank?
Not shitting yourself.
Not shitting yourself. The crew managed to not shit themselves after that. They were true veterans.
Balls of British steel. Anyway, as you can see, the Churchill has been taken down to quite low hit points at this point. Now this, I think, is the best place to have a Churchill. The enemy gets so cocky, thinking they can just knock that last portion of health off you, seem to forget that you are built like a true tank. You are tough. You can take the punishment even at this level. I mean, look, all the armour points that have been taken off it, still not received any critical hits, or you've only got a slight amount of crew damage, but you're still a valid tank. You're still dishing out the damage, as the Panzer III-4 just found out.
Yeah, he didn't like that. Riding through the building, getting a shell in the ass and in the face.
But obviously, at this level, as you just saw, the tank can get knocked out.
So let's have a look at the stats. 700 hit points. That's a serious amount.
That's very good even for a tier 6.
Very strong. It's a lot of hit points to soak up the engine power loss that you're going to have with an infantry support tank from Britain.
Definitely. I mean, it's certainly not a cruiser tank. They're generally designed to be a lot quicker. Infantry tanks, as the name implies, designed to match with the infantry. You can tell that from its 28 kilometers an hour speed limit. It's nothing special.
You're going to be sat in the open for a while, and you're going to need them hit points. The hull armour, though, also shows that this thing can be sitting in the open supporting the infantry. 180 odd. It's as strong as a Tiger.
Easily. I mean, it really does take the real heavy hits to the front armour.
The 88 will have a hard time getting through.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, unless you faced up against an experienced player who does know the Churchill's weak points, against a standard player, good luck getting through.
The shell damage, we discussed just a minute ago, was brilliant. Not. The penetration is fantastic. The rate of fire is amazing. The damage is so lackluster. Not even 94 at the best.
Yeah, definitely. But like you said, the rate of fire. I mean, by the time your opponents realise you're shooting at him, you've already reloaded and fired again, and we're reloading for a third time.
It's good to keep someone tracked. The other thing to note is the high penetration, the high rate of fire, is a money maker because every shot that goes through does damage. Every bit of damage is credits. Big shout out to the WoTarmory guys who did their article on the Churchill tank this week for us. The images used for the damage locations and armour and strategies were from their site and their article, which you must read over at WoTArmory.com. Look at the link below.
And now to see what the Churchill tank is like outside of the game, we hand over to Nigel Montgomery of the Churchill Tank Project.
Hi, I'm Nigel Montgomery and I run the Churchill Tank Project, which is it began as a hobby that got out of control, and it's the restoration of an entire troop of Churchill tanks to working order, each one a different type of gun tank. All go back to the Second World War, as they have to, because the tanks were built before 1944, and the aim over this year and next is to produce the troop of the Mark III, the Mark IV, which you saw at TankFest, and the Mark VII, and have them all in full running order with all the kit working. Everything from the radios to the guns, obviously the engines, and fully driving, so that people can get a sense of what it was like to be in them. You will never get a sense of what war was like, but you get some tiny sense of what it might be like to be cramped inside a tank, maybe closed down, listening on the headphones, and trying to get any idea of where you are on the ground outside, where you can maneuver. It's an awe-inspiring experience. It's noisy, it really gets all of your senses going. It's a fantastic thing to do, and it's a real education for anyone who gets inside them. Well, it's got a really interesting history, and I only was able to do it because of help from Bovington, the Tank Museum, which obviously hosts TankFests every year. And they had, in their disposal collection, they had what was described as, or we would call a Churchill Ark. And that was a wartime Churchill hull with the turret removed, and in place of the turret, a fixed bridge. And it was a very unusual kind of Ark. It actually only operated really as one of a pair. And it was designed for that period after the war when Conqueror tanks were in service along with Centurion. And Conqueror was so heavy that it needed a twin Ark, two Arks, to take its weight and width across tank obstacles. So there it was, rusting away in the tank park, and we came to an arrangement with the museum involving a swap, in fact, and we took it away, meaning to return it to its Second World War status, which was that of a Mark IV with a turret with a 6-pounder gun. And we know that's right because we knew the serial number of the tank, and we knew that it had been a 6-pounder gun tank prior to being converted. So it came out of Bovington, and Bovington have been a fantastic help all the way through in terms of the archive and the resources and the material they have, which is a real help when you're restoring from scratch.
Thanks, Nigel. So let's have a look at some of the variants. The Mark I was equipped with a 2-pounder gun on the turret with a Beza machine gun. It also had the 3-inch howitzer in the hull.
Next came the Churchill Mark II CS, close support. Basically, this variant swapped round the 2-pounder gun and the howitzer.
Then you had the Mark III, which was the first major Churchill, pretty much what you see in the game. It got rid of the house altogether and put the 6-pounder gun into the turret. And this is the first one that uses the wielded turret instead of a cast.
The Churchill Mark IV was the most numerous Churchill produced, the only major change being it returned to a less costly casted turret.
And the 5 was equipped with a close support 95mm howitzer instead of the main gun.
Now the Mark VI had many minor improvements. The most major one of those was a swap to the 75mm Mark V gun. Next episode we'll be looking at the Churchill's German counterpart, the Tiger. We'll be looking at the history behind the tank, the stat comparisons, and finding out what it's like to ride in one from someone who knows firsthand. We will also be looking more in depth into tank restoration and what drives people to do it.
A quick announcement just to let you know we'll be at GamesCom. To mark the occasion, we've decided to run our first competition. The winner will star in episode 3 and win a gold prize. All you have to do is come find me at GamesCom and snap a cool picture or video of you with me, Dorjan. Send the picture or link to thetreadheads@gmail.com for the chance to win. For all those not going to Gamescom, fear not, as we'll be running giveaways in episode 3 with lots of awesome goodies. See you at Gamescom or next episode.